Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com, but we are rejoined by the fantastic, just electric personality, Mr. Travis Thomas himself from Team 980 Radio that everyone knows. Travis, how are you doing on this cold Monday night?
I'm doing good. I didn't know who you were talking about, all those nice things you said about me. Your check is in the mail. Or do people even still mail checks? Should I just Venmo you or something?
Yeah, I was going to say Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, those tend to work best, but check's cool, I guess. I don't want to show my face in public, but I will.
And speaking of money, Travis, it just got released recently that Vegas has the betting odds for Washington next season for their win total to be 7.5 wins. So Travis, do you think that number is right on the line, or are you going over or under?
I think the number's disrespectful, and I'm going over, especially at plus money.
Thank you.
When I bet it, it was plus 100 for the over, and I jumped on it because, listen, I don't think Carson Wentz is the next Tom Brady. I don't think anyone does. But even if he's the same as he was with the Colts, that production at the quarterback position on this roster will be enough to win 9, 10, at least 8 games, for God's sakes. And when you think about the NFC as compared to the AFC, 8, 9, 10 in that range of wins will get you into the playoffs. So, look, if Carson Wentz can stay healthy and at least give me the same production he gave me with the Colts. By the way, all of us know it could be better, but at least maintain that and stay healthy, which he did relatively last season. I don't see how in the hell the line was even set at 7.5. Yeah. The Giants opened at 8. I couldn't believe it.
No way.
What? Yeah. They opened at 8.
Eagles did too. Eagles 8.5 or something.
Well, the Eagles make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but that's Giants. What I'm saying. But I mean, like, we shouldn't be 4th in the NFC East. You know what I'm saying? Like the Giants, come on.
Is Brian Dable worth 5 wins? I mean, my goodness.
No. And they were bet down too. So I guess the money started rolling in on the under, and it came down to 7.5 with the Commanders. But yeah, I mean, to me, I think that's easy money. I think they win. By the way, even if Wentz gets hurt, Heineke in a backup role, to me, I think you have to have the conversation. He's one of the best backups in the league. I feel more comfortable with him in that role.
He's still won 7 games last year with the hardest schedule in the NFL. So, right. I mean.
And that's part of my factor. When I saw that line at 7.5, I was like, well, as of right now, they're playing the 32nd toughest schedule in the NFL. So to factor in Wentz is only a half game better than Heineke. Crazy to me. That's easy money for me, honestly. But speaking of easy money, well, not so easy money, it seems that Washington kind of spent a lot of their money on Carson Wentz coming into free agency with that trade. They seem to free some more up throughout the process, but they've been rather quiet other than really just re-signing their guys. Are you surprised that they weren't more active on free agency, or were you kind of like, oh, this is par for course for Ron Rivera and these guys?
No, I was surprised they weren't more active post the Carson Wentz move because they had no choice. And I mean, look, you mentioned how they freed up some money by releasing some guys, but not really enough. I think ultimately they're reallocating funds to re-sign a Terry McLaurin, or to at least try, as we see all the money these wide receivers are getting. And we know Terry's class is about to get paid. DK, Renfro, all these guys. So for me, I think it's more positioning and strategic posturing to try and keep Terry. Will they be able to long-term? I don't know. He doesn't seem like the kind of player that would, sit out or threaten to sit out if he's franchised. So maybe worst case, you franchise him for a year and just try to keep working on a long-term deal. Who knows how that's going to work out. But I think ultimately, look, I didn't hate the trade for Wentz. We just talked about Wentz as far as the win totals. I'm coming around to the idea of Carson Wentz was a good move for this team. Where I think we were fleeced by the Colts is not the draft compensation. I'm fine with that. It's the financial implications. I mean, my God, you couldn't get these guys to pick up some of the tab. Look at what the Colts worked out with the Falcons for Matt Ryan's huge deal. Now Matt Ryan's cheaper than Carson Wentz because they weren't finessed by the Falcons. I feel like we got finessed by the Colts. So I was surprised they didn't do more in free agency because they had no choice.
Right. Yeah. And you can tell that we kind of rushed into it. I know that that's kind of been reported, and it is what it is, but you're right. It does suck. It's like, come on, you guys couldn't have done anything. Maybe picked up $10 even.
I mean, it makes sense. They didn't want to be in Carolina's position. I mean, it makes perfect sense that they were like, look, this is the one option that we have. The Steelers are on our ass. We got to make sure we get a quarterback.
Right. But anyway, I mean, Travis, you've talked about this, but we got a lot of listeners that aren't necessarily from the area. So I want to know, you had a fantastic bit about this, by the way. Who is your surprise team from the NFC, and who do you think is an NFC team that can actually win the entire NFC? No poop emojis right now. We don't got any poop emojis.
So the bit you're referring to is who I don't believe in, which is the Minnesota Vikings. My producer and everyone in my life on air with me, Quentin Mayo on down, believe in the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. I did like the Zadarius Smith signing, though. That was a good signing.
That's a good signing. Right.
I like Kevin O'Connell, too. We'll see. But I think offense wasn't really the problem there. I think it was defense. So we'll see what happens. I've warmed up to them now, though. I do not believe there's some sleeper team, but I do think the NFC is wide open. For me, I'm actually going the 49ers. I mean, look, I understand that no one knows what you have in Trey Lance, and right now it's not looking good because they're not really giving him the vote of confidence. But John Lynch came out today and said, look, we're not cutting Jimmy G. If someone wants to trade for him, we're always open to trading anyone on our roster if it's a fair deal, but no one has called about Jimmy G. We know he had surgery on the shoulder. So to me, that's going to be the same team that we saw last year, probably. Now, the only reason I would give them sleeper status is I think at some point they have to go to Trey Lance. They have to. Yeah. I don't know when. I don't know if he starts the season. I don't know if you roll with Jimmy for a while. I have no idea. But I do believe that with Trey Lance's ability, his physicality, his size, his ability to run. I mean, if Kyle Shanahan's such a genius, like everyone says, then let's see you use that kid. Look at what they gave up to go get him.
I know.
The Trey Lance era has to start in San Francisco. I am going to gamble on the fact that he's going to work out. They're going to protect him in that lineup. If they have to run an offense catered to him, so be it. I think the Niners and the NFC are a sleeper team.
Yeah, and that would make a lot of sense. I know the 49ers, obviously, they went to where they were last season, and they're not far off. They got the man himself, Mr. Trent Williams. But today, the NFL altogether, not just the Washington Commanders, released their NFL draft caps. What did you think of those, Travis?
What I might have missed what you're talking about, like a mock draft?
The draft caps, the hats.
Oh, the hats?
Yeah.
Oh, those were awful.
Right.
Those were awful. I thought you said draft recap. No, those were awful, bro. Yeah. Does anyone like those? No. I can't be the only one that thinks those suck.
No,
and it's only by the NFL, hideous. Right? Like the NFL releases all of them. It's not like Washington releases their own, right?
Every team has the same one. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, every team has those. What we saw for our team. Oh God, what genius was in charge of that?
That might maybe Larry Michael or something. I heard he might have had something. He's a nice guy, I've heard.
Joe Gibbs thinks so, apparently.
Yeah. It's rumored.
That's
rumored.
The
Rumored.
Invested a lot in him.
Allegedly. But yeah, jumping back to the field. You mentioned how open the NFC is right now, or wide open the NFC is. Obviously, you got Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, the Buccaneers, and you got Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what they look like without Devontae Adams. And you got the Rams loading up with Allen Robinson. Who knows? They might bring back OBJ. Where would you rank the Commanders right now? Obviously, you guys still got the draft coming up. They still got maybe after the draft, free agency, stuff like that. But as of right now, where would you rank Commanders in the NFC?
Well, it's an unpopular take on my show amongst the fan base because I say they're a wild card team still. I still think Dallas is going to win the division. And everyone just jumps down my throat for that and says, oh, they lost this person. They lost that person. This person's taking a shot at the organization. They choked in the playoffs. How could you say Dallas is going to win the division. And it's simple. It's because they have the best quarterback in the division in a freaking quarterback league. What more do you need to say? I mean, Dak is that good. I hate them just like everyone else, but you can't deny it. So to me, I would take Dallas to win the division. I don't think they're going to set the world on fire and win 11 or 12 games. It could be a 10-7, but I would put the Commanders right there with the Eagles for a wild card. Both of them could even make the wild card, to be honest. As you said, the NFC is wide open. So I see the Commanders there, like we talked about, at that 8-9, probably 8 or 9 win, but in a great season, a 10 win, and then we'll see what happens. They would be in play for the division, but I think they're a wild card team.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the exact same thing. Dallas is almost just too good, and it sucks to say, it pains me, but they got to give them their props. You know what I'm saying? But so let's transition a little bit here over to the draft. All right, what is your ideal draft scenario for the Commanders? And if they stay at 11, who would you like to see them select?
Okay, I love the way you asked that question, because you said my ideal, because I don't think this is going to happen. Guys, listen, I love Kyle Hamilton, like, so much. He was my favorite college player to begin with at Notre Dame. He's an absolute stud. It's a shame he got hurt, because people were starting. I talked about him so much on air. I talked about Kyle Hamilton and Matt Corral so much on air that people started to watch them and call me during the college football season and say, hey, I watched your guy this weekend, or hey, I watched this guy. So I was high on them both. I've cooled off on Corral. Obviously, with the Carson Wentz trade, I kind of knew that ship had sailed. So my ideal draft would be at 11. For whatever reason, inexplicably, Hamilton drops there. I don't think it's going to happen.
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened.
John Allen, Brian Arakpo both
That's true. That's true. But listen, I mean, you're talking about a guy in Hamilton that could go 2 overall, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he'll be there. I tell you, the more time goes on, the more I see how giddy Ron looked at Ohio State's pro day, the more these wide receivers are getting paid and moved across this league for assets. We don't know what Terry's future is. I just feel like they're going to take a receiver at 11. I really do. It may be one of those Ohio State kids. We'll see if Drake London drops. But my gut tells me they're going to end up taking a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's how it's been feeling for a lot of us, if not that cornerback, because we all know that how much they love Ahmad Gardner. But to wrap this up, Travis, I have a couple questions for you. We had a couple episodes ago that was called Bitter Beans, talking about Brandon Beane, the GM for the Bills, and kind of he was pissed off by the J.D. McKissic situation. But it has been rumored that Washington was in discussions with Buffalo about having joint practices during training camp, and we all love the idea of that. Do you think that J.D. McKissic situation could erode the chances of that happening?
I hope not. I thought it was lame that guy even came out and said all that.
Right?
I mean, I'm glad you call it that the segment name.
He was the one. He walked up on stage and smacked that comedian for saying that joke about J.D. McKissic, right?
I thought that was him.
Okay, wrong person.
I mean, it's just like, this is business, bro. Like, honestly, even you see it on the college ranks. How many times do we see these kids pick up the hats and go, I'm going here. No, just kidding. Toss at him. Going here. No, it's just like, this is business. Okay, so what? You had a verbal deal with J.D. McKissic. He didn't sign anything. And when it was time to sign, now to J.D. McKissic's credit, God bless him forever. I'm going to get a jersey of his now, because he literally gave the Commanders Fisher Price how to re-sign a player that wants to stay here, you idiots. Like, he had to literally hold their hand and say, I don't want to leave, so I need you to match this offer, okay?
Right.
Put this wording in the contract, and then I'll sign it right here. So, God bless him for doing that, because he didn't want to leave. But it shows just how inept. I thought the Commanders blew it, and I definitely thought old boy in Buffalo sounded like a bitter Betty, no question about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then earlier you talked about how at first with the Carson Wentz trade, you were kind of on the fence, but you've warmed up to the idea of Carson Wentz here and what he could play at quarterback. That being said, it got released, I think about a week ago, that Coach Rivera actually went down to Charlotte and met with Joe Gibbs and asked him what they did in order to structure their needs to go find a quarterback. Did that give you more confidence with Carson Wentz, knowing that Ron Rivera went and consulted Joe Gibbs?
Well, two things. I was not on the fence. I was pissed. Let me be clear. I had heard Ron talk so much all year, and especially as we got closer to the offseason, with his chest out, with this bravado of we're gonna get a big name quarterback, we're gonna take a swing at the fence. And they did. I'm not certainly knocking them. We know they tried real hard for Russell Wilson. I believe they tried for Aaron Rodgers. He wouldn't even give him the time of day. And I think once those things happen, I mean, look, Ron panicked. I don't care what anyone says. His franchise panicked, and it's evident by what we talked about with them not even trying to figure out the money side of things and just saying, "Oh, we'll take his contract." That's proof to me that they panicked. But I did warm up to it eventually, and I am now. I understand it because of the youth factor. That's where I would go with Joe Gibbs. I don't necessarily think the talk between Ron and Joe led to go get Carson Wentz. That's not what I heard. I mean, the takeaway that I gathered from it with the information we were given was Joe Gibbs told him, get a veteran quarterback, right? You have a team ready to win. Go get someone, been there, done that can run your system. And the moment's not too big for. To me, that sounds like Matt Ryan, to be honest, the guy that ended up in Indy. So I don't necessarily think the conversation with Joe Gibbs led to Wentz. I think maybe it gave Ron some validation if he was thinking of Carson Wentz, hearing Joe talk. But I don't necessarily think those two things are related. I am glad that Ron or whoever from this franchise consults with Joe Gibbs for anything because that guy knows how to win.
Yeah, dude. I call him Rumpelstiltskin. Everything he touches turns to gold, brother.
Yep,
last one for you, Thomas. Twitter went crazy this week with rumors about Terry McLaurin, and it brought up the conversation. Is Terry McLaurin elite?
I think he's elite. Now, look, it's like any other elite list. How many elite players deep are you going? Right? That's the debate. Is there 3 elite players? Is there 5? Is there 10? To me, I always feel elite in any industry is 10. Is 10 deep. So I would put Terry. Now he might be on that back end of the 10, but fair. I would put him top 10. I would say
Aaron Rodgers. I think it would be everybody would say, all right, he's top 5.
That's a great point. I also would say this about him as it pertains to re-signing. If the Commanders do not prioritize and re-sign Terry McLaurin at all costs, who do you re-sign? I mean, this is a guy that works his ass off. He's humble. He's great in the community. He's a fan favorite.
Done nothing but improve.
I've met Terry and I've barely heard him talk ever. Like, you're not going to have to, he's not going to go and point fingers at the media like RG3 or his teammates or throw anyone under the bus or take selfies with fans like Dwayne Haskins.
He won't make fun of a celebrity's wife in the front row of a
or even slap one.
Or slap somebody, right.
I mean, like, and this franchise could use more guys like that. Am I wrong? Yeah. So why not? You gave John Allen the money, and he's an upstanding citizen. Just keep him off Twitter late night. So to me, why not? Why not pay Terry? I mean, why wouldn't you? So that was good, right? Just a little quick jabber.
Yeah. I like that.
I thought about it, and I was like, "That's right." He talked about going to dinner with Hitler. Okay.
Yeah. I had to think about it too. I was like, "Wait, Twitter late night? I don't think John did anything bad."
Keep him off Twitter. I was up, dude. I'm never awake, by the way, ever. Like, I go to bed mad early. I was awake that night and I saw that, and that was my cue. I said, "Okay, well,
I'm going to sleep."
This is why I don't stay up.
This is why I don't stay up.
Enough
Travis, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and joining us, sir, and giving us lots to laugh about, brother. Before you get out of here, just in case anyone watching doesn't follow you already on social media, if you just want to plug your Twitter handle.
Easy work. Twitter, IG, Facebook, all the same. Travis Thomas Experience. Get at me. I'm not on TikTok because I hate Jackson Mahomes. You can listen to my show every day, Travis Thomas Experience, 9 a.m. to noon on the Team 980. And Kyle, anytime you hit me up, I'm always there, bro. I got mad love for you in this show. You guys do a kick-ass job.
I appreciate you, Thomas. We love you too,
man.
brother.
Yeah,
Keep up the good work. Get a good night rest, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right, brother.
We'll see
I
you.
want to watch some Jackson Mahomes now.
Don't say that. Now you're just
I
gonna
hate
piss.
Jackson Mahomes so bad. I hate him so bad. Everything I see him do, he just has a dumb face. I hate his face.
Can you
He's like
imagine Kansas
6'7".
City? Juju,
Oh yeah, him
like
and
their locker
Juju
room,
are gonna
Juju and
have
Jackson Mahomes in the locker
they're gonna
room?
do the worst finger hand arm dances on TikTok.
Do you know
Like,
how
that
awkward it
finger
must be for Juju, for Jackson Mahomes to come out and say that he won't be doing any TikToks with Juju?
Right.
For him to say that, what does that say about Juju?
it means
Right.
Juju can't dance with his arms,
I
dude.
mean,
He just
everyone
doesn't
thinks
have
Juju's
it.
lame because he does TikTok, and none of the TikTok people think he's cool, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Does anybody think TikTok people are cool? No.
Oh, that's a
good
good
point.
question. Now let's start
Yeah.
with our fan questions before we are joined by our second guest. And this is from Aki G on Twitter. He DM'd me early this morning, so I'm giving him the early bird special. Who do you guys think would fit best at middle linebacker? And what tight end would complement or even take over for Logan Thomas given his injury history, Reed?
Ooh. So are we talking about just in the draft or free agency or what?
Altogether.
Okay. Well, I'll go with the draft for I'll go with the draft for both. I really, and I know that some people aren't as high on him as others, but I really like Chad Muma. I think that Chad Muma is smart and athletic enough. He's got the size to kind of man the middle. And with him being surrounded by Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis, who are two athletic freaks. Now, Chad Muma is no slouch at all athletically. He's a little trouble moving from side to side, but I think he could be perfect. I think that he's, like you said, Kyle, a Logan Wilson type for Cincy. You plug him in, you play, he gets tackles, he makes plays. So I really like Chad Muma. The only thing is, do you want to play three young linebackers at one time? How often are they on the field together? But then at tight end is another interesting thing because John Bates came on very well last year. I really like John Bates, but you still need to have another tight end. And who can fill his role? That's why I almost think that you have to go tight end kind of early. And so obviously I've mentioned Trey McBride, but I'll go a little bit later on in the draft and say Cade Otton, the tight end from Washington. Obviously I like Jelani Woods and those guys, but I think Cade Otton is somebody who's athletic enough to go in there. He's kind of similar to Trey McBride in a way, similar size and similar skill set. And he's somebody who I think could go in there and really produce. And you wouldn't have to spend a second round pick on him. You could get him in the in the fourth, possibly even later if he falls a little bit.
Yeah, I do think you are correct in your assumption that Chad Muma would be the best fit for this team. He does basically everything. He isn't the greatest at passing, being able to defend the pass, but he does a good job of being able to keep up with guys. He has a knowledge of where the football is going, but he's
good
best
in zone.
Yeah, but he's
too.
best in run fits. But I do think that he would fit this defense perfectly. But I think the guy that would really fit this defensive middle linebacker is Troy Anderson from Montana State. The kid is 6'4". He's lightning fast, play quarterback, running back. He can run all over the field. He's the best athlete or fastest guy on the field at all times when he was on the field at Montana State, given the fact that obviously the competition level isn't all that high. But given his size, given his speed, if you put that into a cover two type of zone system that the Chicago Bears used to run with Brian Urlacher, I think Troy Anderson would really fit well with these two other linebackers in Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. I've said many times I think Jamin Davis is like Lance Briggs, where he starts out early in his career as an outside linebacker, and then once Brian Urlacher left, Lance, when he was older, lost his step a little bit, he moved to middle linebacker. So I kind of can see Jamin Davis doing that, and that's why I think Troy Anderson would really fit this defense perfectly. The big question is, can he start right away? And that's where I have my worries about. But it's Jelani Woods for tight end. The dude is 6'7". He is an absolute monster. He looks like an extra lineman out there. And last season, Washington at times, to be able to run the ball effectively, they actually brought in an extra lineman in order the jumbo package, the big boy package, in order to move the chains a little bit and to help out our tackles in the run game. And Jelani Woods is somebody that's already a tight end, but looks like a lineman, is big enough to go against defensive linemen, is strong enough, and he's fast enough to beat DBs, and he's a very good catcher of the football. So I think those two guys would absolutely fit perfect for this team.
Yeah, linebacker, I'll go with Devin Lloyd from Utah. He's Mr. Do-It-All. He can rush from the blitz. He can run sideline to sideline. He's pretty good in coverage. He's athletic. He can plug gaps. He's a great tackler in space. So I could definitely see him playing the middle linebacker role. I know he's more of like an outside linebacker, but I think that he could maybe possibly.
He could play anywhere.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I also think Devin Lloyd is like versatile in the way that he can also rush the passer. So if you have injuries to pass rusher, he could maybe
kind of move him around like that Micah Parsons role.
Right.
You can put him on the edge. You can put him in the A gap, B gap, something like that. So he would definitely be a great kind of chess piece on the field for us. And tight end, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but he's from the University of Maryland. Chigoziem Okonkwo.
Yeah,
I think you nailed it.
I know.
It's close
I don't
enough,
know how
I
to
guess.
pronounce it. Yeah.
But I definitely think that he's kind of a work in progress, and he's more of the Jordan Reed type of tight end where when he's in the game, you pretty much know it's a passing down. Like you might put him on the backside for like kind of like just like stand in front of somebody and just kind of be that, kind of put your hands on him on the backside. But he's definitely a guy that kind of plays that Logan Thomas role where he's great in the seam. He's a great red zone threat. He's super athletic. He ran a crazy 40 at
4.52 or something.
Yeah, like 4.52, something crazy like that. He's a little bit undersized. He's 6'2", 240. So he doesn't have the size that Logan Thomas has, but he's a great athlete, and I definitely think that with a little bit of seasoning and training, he could maybe turn into that kind of that move tight end, that flex tight end.
Yeah, I hope we answered that well for you. Enough for you, Aki. You're the man. Obviously, he's a consistent producer for the show. He really does come in and contribute a lot to this show. But our next question, before we get into our next questions, our line of questions, we are now joined by our second guest. I think we are all very familiar with his face, and that being the staff writer for the Washington Commanders, Mr. Zach Selby. Thank you for joining us again, Zach. How are you doing on this cold Monday night?
Yeah, I know. It's so weird for it to be randomly come. Honestly, I feel like we need a wrap it up button for all this cold weather. I feel like we just really need to get on into the warm weather. Welcome in spring. It's technically already spring. So
I think I can make that happen.
30-degree weather.
Right, I know. I was so disappointed. It's been so nice out lately, and then you get hit with this, and it's windy too.
And Zach, I know you just moved here from Maryland, so welcome to Maryland, sir.
Yeah. It's been a joy, truly.
Now, Zach, I saw on your Twitter feed that Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network just did a mock draft, and he had a surprise draft pick for the Washington Commanders at number 11. Kind of take us down what he picked for Washington to take at 11.
Yeah, so he chose Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, a safety. And the biggest thing he brought up is, he's one of the best, most talented players in the draft, period, regardless of position. And a lot of people are going to look at that 40 time 5 or 4.59. And I mean, to be fair, that is one of the slowest in the position. And someone could say maybe it's a little bit of a cause for concern, but also with the 40 time is not necessarily an indicator of a player having a good career, because look, John Ross had one of the fastest 40 times ever. And what is he doing now?
There is Hayward Bay, right?
Yeah, no disrespect to John Ross, but also this guy has really good cover ability. He's had one of the top 5 cover grades from PFF since 2019. Yeah. Since he started playing at Notre Dame, he's been one of the best cover safeties in the league, period, in the Power 5. So there's that. He has 8 interceptions over his career, also really good. And he has a 6'4", 220-pound frame. That's like a big receiver out there in the secondary. And he has the ability to cover guys and use that length to go after some of these bigger receivers and knock down some balls. That's pretty talented. And also playing speed is completely different from being in a 40 speed. There's a whole different thing about you can do to have a good 40 time. And playing speed it's completely different, especially with on pads and having the instinct to go across the field. That's all you really have to see is guy. Can he go across the field and get it and make a play? And he's shown that he can do that time and time again. So I think he's got the ability. I think he's got the right kind of attitude. He's a good leader for Notre Dame. I think he would be a good addition to this Washington secondary, which has now lost Landon Collins. It's going to get Bobby McCain back, but you still need a couple more players there. I think he would be a rock solid addition to the secondary.
Yeah, and to go to your point about talking about the 40 time not transitioning to the pros and really meaning a good career, Troy Apke ran a 4.3. Just to put that out there. No disrespect to Troy. I'm just saying, in difference of play. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, and on top of that, if you just look at his length, like you talked about, being 6'4", 220 with his vertical jump, when you watch him play on tape, he covers so much ground, just sideline to sideline, just with being able to use his length and being able to get his hands on balls that nobody else will be able to touch, because that's such a rare.
Watch his Florida State tape. That's all you need to watch. Yes, the game against Florida State.
Yep.
And the biggest thing is and this is something that his former coach said. He has the tangibles and abilities and frame that you just don't find anywhere else.
Right.
And I even mentioned this in my story on him. Like, a lot of people bring up the word unicorn when you talk about Kyle Hamilton, and that's never a bad thing,
right?
Especially when you have the kind of skill set that he has.
And real fast, think about it. So he ran a 4.59 40, which is slow for a lot of safeties. I mean, people expected him to run faster, but he still had a 9.28 RAS score or something, despite that at his size, which is that means everything else that he did was just incredible. So, I mean, the guy's not just some slow, unathletic goon. I mean, the guy's a freak of nature.
And to the point about the vertical, I think he had like a 38-inch vertical.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's shooting guard. That's an NBA shooting guard.
Yep.
Go ahead, Hall.
So sticking with the draft, and obviously Kyle Hamilton, I would love to have Kyle Hamilton if he drops there, but say he gets taken off the board before 11, what position would you like to see the Commanders attack at number 11?
I think for me, it's kind of been narrowed down to two spots. One is linebacker. I think they really need a middle linebacker. Now, I know that Martin Mayhew said at the league meeting, he said that they feel like Cole has a chance to do some of the things that he wants to do in the middle. He's been very vocal about going to have that Mike spot, and I think he's got the ability to do it. On the other hand, if they decide that they want to go in another direction, I mean, I wrote a story a few weeks ago about Devin Lloyd out of Utah, and he's got some really good ability as well. I think if you want to go, I think, and some people have also said like Devin Lloyd is probably one of the only few linebackers in this year's draft class that are worthy of a first round pick. And some consider him to be the best one. So why not go after and shorten the linebacking core even more? In terms of receiver, I think, and that's my second one. And I think, a lot of people throwing out Drake London. He seems to be like the popular pick. He's a big guy. He was injured last year, but he's still shown that like when he's on the field, he's
right. He dominated on the field last year, right?
In college football. I think also like Garrett Wilson. That's another really good option. His route running ability is probably some of the best in the draft. I was talking to Logan Paulson today about the receiver class, and he feels like Garrett Wilson is the most pro ready.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend. Yeah.
He's a cool guy, man. We shoot it on a bunch of different stuff. And I also like Chris Olave. That speed is really up there. So those are really the two positions I think. And I know that they've already dipped into the receiver pool quite a bit recently. Especially double dipping last year with De'Aaron Brown and Dax Milne. But also, I mean, this receiver class is so deep, but you also have some players out there that are really going to stand out among the top. And I don't think you really can go wrong with Drake London, either of the Ohio State players. I think they've really got what it takes to really complement Terry in a lot of really good ways.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love all those guys that you mentioned. So tight end seems to be another position that a lot of Washington fans seem to be mentioning a lot lately. I know that we have Logan Thomas. However, he is projected to miss the early portions of the season. I mean, there's a very good possibility of that. John Bates came on fantastic last year, but Ricky Seals-Jones booked over to the Giants, that stupid traitor. So do you think that there is a chance that Washington could go tight end as early as round 2 in the draft?
That's a good question. And I think it depends on what they want to do. Now, I think if say they trade down, I think maybe the fact that they don't have a third round pick right now, that might make a position, a little bit more immediate. I could see them going tight end. I think, there's been a lot of really good options out there, like Cole Turner is a good one. Isaiah Likely. Also, I still think Trey McBride is probably like the best of the position overall. So he's definitely not going to be there.
Don't tell Logan that.
Do what?
Don't tell Logan that.
Oh. No, I think Trey McBride's probably going to go somewhere he's probably going to go somewhere in the low 20s. I would even say like the Titans might go after him. That's a very tight end driven offense. So I can see them going for Trey McBride, but either of those guys like Cole Turner, Isaiah, I think they really need a red zone option. Right. Because you have Logan Thomas, who obviously is going to be a really good red zone option, but why not have another one? Right. And I know that Likely and Turner, they've both been really good in the red zone over their careers in college. So I think either of those would be good. I wrote a story on Commanders.com about a couple of tight ends in the combine that I was really looking at. And I think, if y'all want to go check that out, please do. But like Turner and Likely are both on there.
Yeah.
Cole Turner was somebody I really had my eye on. Red zone threat. The kid can jump out of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But my next question for you, sir. The owners' meetings are obviously going down. You referenced it earlier. And there has been rumors that there might be some changes going on to overtime, and it seems like there's a lot of steam behind it. What changes do you expect to make, and what are they kind of deliberating about?
In terms of expectations, I have no expectations because overtime rules are, it takes forever for those things to change. And I'll go with like what I think would be pretty cool. I think, the Titans have brought up a rule, I think, where like if you go for two and if you score on your opening drive overtime, you can end the game with going for a 2-point conversion. If they don't get it, then the offense has another opportunity to get the ball back. I think that's interesting.
Me too.
I'm also a fan of like say you just like whoever has the lead at the end of that overtime period, that's the winner of the game. And the true sports person in me is like, just make it college football rules and just go to have like 7 or 8 overtimes. But there's no way that would end up being into reality in the league, unfortunately. Some ideas are just too cool to do, and that's one of them. But no, I think you go in with some. I know they're going to discuss it, but I think you go in with some low expectations about like how. I don't think we're going to do like a whole overhaul of overtime because. Yeah, you can bring up how the Chiefs and the Bills, like that was an insane game. You didn't want it to end, but also you're not going to find a lot of Chiefs-Bills games very often that are going to warrant that kind of overtime, situation. So I don't know. I mean, going with low expectations, and then if they make some sort of change about it, like say at least both teams get the ball, I think that's a win for those pro overtime overhaul rule supporters.
Right, and since he's gotten here, Carson Wentz has been a pretty hot topic around for Washington Commanders fans, and Frank Wright has been heaping all the praise on him since he left, and he pretty much doubled down again and said that he's a top 10 quarterback. I'm not going to ask you if you think he's a top 10 quarterback because I think I know the answer to that. But my question is, do you think that Washington getting Carson Wentz, do you think that it was more that Frank Wright heaps praise on him? Do you think it was like a Jim Irsay move, or do you think that it was a Colts like group decision? And do you think that Carson will have a better season than Matt Ryan now that he's a Colt?
Well, I think, in terms of like whether it's a Jim Irsay move or like a group move, I don't want to speak completely for that organization, but I will say that like I do think that if it's anything in Washington, it's not just a one-person decision. Like they obviously Ron Rivera has like the full say on a lot of things with the coach-centric approach. But I mean, he still considers all of the voices around him, when he wants to make those decisions. So I would say if it's anything, I would say probably like a group decision because I mean Frank Reich is also one of the most respected coaches right now. So I would be shocked if Jim Irsay didn't go to him with any kind of opinion about what to do with the quarterback. In terms of Matt Ryan versus Carson Wentz, I would say I think Matt Ryan's got a lot of really good ability left in him at 37. So I think he's still got the ability to push the ball down the field with the right options. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be able to do that for him. He did that a little bit with Carson Wentz last year. Probably going to do the same again this year. I'm interested to see how I wish they would keep T.Y. Hilton because it seems like that he kind of fits in that offense really well and they would allow them to stretch the ball even more. But I also think Washington's offense is when everybody's healthy on the field, they've got a lot of potential. And I think people forget that like Scott Turner last year, when that offense was really clicking, it was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. So I think if you had to give him like a full toolbox of things to work with a healthy Terry McLaurin, a healthy Curtis Samuel, you get De'Ami Brown who can stretch the field. You have, maybe a receiver X, that you get at 11 or some other point in the draft. You got Logan Thomas, you got John Bates, only dropped like a handful of balls. He's not going to catch too many passes. When he does, he's going to be a reliable target. You've got JD back, you've got Antonio back, you got a pretty solid offensive line. Like I think he's got a lot of tools to say. I'm not going to say it's a top 10 offense, but it's definitely going to be. I'd say much better and much more improved than it was last year.
Yeah, I completely agree. So as we know, Washington has been a little bit quiet in free agency. But one of the players that they signed, and excuse me if I butcher this name, I always do it, but it's Efe Obada. Is that how you pronounce it?
Good job.
See, I'm very cultured. I'm more than just a Maryland guy. I'm not cultured, uncultured swine, Lindsay. That's what I have to tell my fiance all the time. But anyway, what does he bring to this team? Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, besides a really sweet British accent, listen to him in his presser was very, very, how those British people have like that soothing accent. That's just,
and they all sound so much smarter than us.
Yeah, I wanted to listen to him talk all day, honestly. Like if I could say like ASMR of Efe Obada, doing those soothing, that would be awesome.
Would you make him some tea and crumpets for dessert?
Now you sound more like a.
I don't know what that was.
You sound more like a Tiny Tim from like Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
You're talking about the one who sang that tiptoe through the window.
Now you just remind me of Sinister.
Yeah, that's the one who sings it. Yeah,
you're all over the place, man. No, but I think Efe brings a lot of depth. I think he brings a lot of underrated experience. I think he's a Ron Rivera guy. Through and through. This is someone who pretty made it very clear to his agent and everybody, look, I don't want to play with anybody else but Ron Rivera, because he believes in the culture. He believes in the hard work, the preparation, the effort that comes in with being a Ron Rivera guy and being on a Ron Rivera team. So I think you can't really knock anybody who wants to bring that, because he's definitely not going to be like DN1 or DN2 because Chase and Montez both have those roles.
Right.
But I think if you can bring him in and say maybe you want to be like a James Smith-Williams who can play on the inside and the outside, a guy who can give you maybe 3.5, 4 sacks for the season. I think that's a pretty good, you get a pretty good deal out of that for someone like Efe Obada. And I think he's been able to do that over the past couple of years.
We saw that kind of be an issue with Washington last year where Chase Young and Montez Sweat were out, and all of a sudden they didn't really have too many guys to fill the role. I mean, the people that they did admirably, but that's where you would have paid to have a Ryan Kerrigan or somebody like that, Yeah.
And having that position versatility is going to be so key, because now you don't have Tim Settle. Now you don't have Matt Ioannidis. Right. So you need some, I mean, I'm sure they're going to fill it somewhere down the line. Maybe it's in free agency or the draft. But you value those kind of guys who can say, okay, we need a 3-tech. You can go throw an FA in there. You need somebody as D and while Chase gets a drink or something like that, or even takes a play off. He has the ability to do whatever you really need him to. And that's all you can ask out of a depth player, honestly.
You're absolutely right about that, Selby. Now to wrap this up, my last question for you about the most important player on our team, Mr. Terry McLaurin. Let's say week 1 this season, Terry steps onto the field. Will he have a new contract extension, or will he be on the same contract?
I certainly hope he has a new contract, for sure. So I think
give me something, Selby.
I'll say I'll go on a limb and I'll say if it does get done, I would expect it. If we go into past history, maybe it happens during training, right before training camp or something like that. Okay. But I would certainly say that I hope it gets done, because it would be very difficult, to not have Terry on a Washington offense. I can't even imagine what that would be like. So we'll see what they get done. There's a long way to go between now and whenever that contract is up, and they've been pretty adamant that they want to keep Terry. Rivera says he wants to keep Terry. Martin Mayhew says he wants. Everybody wants Terry around. There's no one who doesn't want Terry in the building. So we'll see where it gets done. I have a lot of confidence that they're going to get one of the top 10 young receivers right now to stay on the roster for the foreseeable future.
My man, Selby. Thank you for just giving me a little bit. I appreciate you doing that, because you didn't have to, Selby. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and joining us, as always. And if you guys go and check out Selby on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle, Selby? I know it's Zach Selby. I don't know the numbers.
WC. I had to change it. I had to change it from the WFT to WC. That's the whole part of the rebrand changeover.
There you go. Man. Go follow Washington's best staff writer that they have on payroll at the moment. Go follow my man, Zach Selby. I can't thank you enough again, brother. Hope you have a good night and enjoy your week, sir.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right, Selby.
See you, Selby.
Yep.
Man, I love talking to Selby.
The GOAT. The greatest of all time.
The original guest.
Yes. And
that's true.
We are running.
You thought I was going to say gangster, didn't you?
I did.
I didn't. I wasn't expecting anything. But before we,
It's a good way to live life.
Yeah, seriously. And now let's get into our next questions. And this is from the Colonel. We got to start with the Colonel here. The Indianapolis Colts were able to get rid of Carson Wentz and his enormous contract to us. They used one of the third-round picks they got for Carson Wentz to get Matt Ryan. Am I brain dead, or did we just get seriously hosed? The caveat, he says, obviously this entire point becomes irrelevant if we kick ass with our new quarterback. I just meant more from a business perspective. What do you think, Reed?
Did we get hosed? No, because I mean, despite what people are going to say, and I know this is probably the homer in me, but I still think Carson Wentz's upside is better. I mean, he's younger. He's only 29 years old. And I will say, look, Matt Ryan won MVP that one season. He was fantastic. But 2011 Carson Wentz was, I'm sorry, 2017 Carson Wentz was better than any version of Matt. Yeah, no, but he was so good looking back then. No, but he was 2017 Carson Wentz was better than any version of Matt Ryan. I mean, I'm sorry, you just go watch the game. That Carson Wentz dominated. Are we going to get that Carson Wentz? Probably not. Matt Ryan, though, is towards the end of his career. I know we have to take on a big chunk or his entire salary, and that sucks, but that's for one season. And then, we can opt out of it if he doesn't do too good. And like I said, I just think that the upside's higher. But I mean, from a realistic standpoint, maybe we did a little bit compared to what happened to them. But we rushed into it. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't think that we got hosed, Colonel. I think that, if we getting hosed, I think the horrible situation would be that we would be like in Carolina's situation with nothing really here, just Taylor really banking on the draft, and nobody's really excited about leaning on one of these quarterbacks immediately in the draft. But I will say that the Colts, Matt Ryan fits their offense. If you kind of can remember what Phillip Rivers did for them and being able to distribute the football, obviously he didn't have the arm from before, but he's kind of like that stand tall in the pocket and find your outlets to get the ball out of his hands. And that's what kind of Matt Ryan is, where Carson Wentz is different in that setting. But in this offense for Washington, Carson Wentz would be the better fit than Matt Ryan. I know that maybe his numbers would be better, but you're getting an older version of Kirk Cousins essentially with Matt Ryan. And I'm not saying that Matt Ryan's not a good quarterback or Kirk Cousins is better. I'm just saying the way that they fit this system and this offense, so to speak, being able to check the ball down, distribute it out. Carson is it gives you nitrous. He gets you down the field. He shoots you like a catapult.
Big play.
Yeah, exactly. And so it kind of really just fits what Washington has been trying to do. It's the complete opposite of what this offense has been trying to do. So no, do I think that they got hosed? No, because they did not want to be desperate, even though it kind of looked like it is, and they panicked to get it. They just wanted the situation to be done with. I'm sure this is something that they're tired of hearing about and trying to fix. And this was a situation where you're getting a player who has a chip on his shoulder, who is probably going to take it seriously at this point, has the talent, has the legs, has injuries that kind of muffle the waters a little bit, but that brought down his price. And when you bring down the price, it makes it more affordable for you. So yes, the positives, I don't think that they got fleeced at all. A little bit too much, of course, but I think Reed said it perfectly.
Totally.
No, I definitely think that we got, as our good friend Travis Thomas said, we got finessed. I definitely think that they looked at it. I look at it kind of like the Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns type of thing situation, where Deshaun Watson told the Cleveland Browns, sorry, guys, you're out of the race. I'm going to move on to these other teams, the other two teams that want me. I don't want to negotiate with you guys anymore. Well, Cleveland said, kind of Godfather style, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
So I think that same thing happened with Washington, where the Colts took their first offer and said, okay, well, we'll get back to you real quick. They probably had Pittsburgh on the other line. Maybe they had New Orleans on the other line, something like that. So they said, Godfather style, you know what? We'll make you an offer we can't refuse. We'll take on the whole contract. And Indianapolis said, oh, really? Okay, cool. Give it to them right now. Hotcakes, get it off. So I definitely think that they got finessed a little bit, but at the same time, like you said, if it all works out, they win 9-10 games like the playoffs, it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and look, I don't think the Colts won in this scenario at all. I mean, they're on their third different quarterback, two that were at the ends of their careers, obviously, in Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers. They just keep trying, obviously. And
more than that, you've had a different starting quarterback every year since Andrew Luck.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I butchered that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Who cares? Yeah. Now, thank you, Curl. That was a great one. The next question is from our guy, Sergio Martin, in the Discord chat server. He says, I'm thinking Carson Strong in the second round or third if we trade back with our 11th overall pick. He's similar to Carson Wentz, so transition shouldn't be a problem. What do you think about that, Hall?
Yeah, second, a little bit too rich for my blood, but maybe that third, fourth round range. I could definitely see if he's still on the board, maybe them drafting Carson Strong. But also at the same time, I've always been since they picked up Carson Wentz, I've kind of been off they're gonna draft a quarterback anywhere in the draft range unless it's like the fifth round or later, because obviously we saw how Carson Wentz dealt with that in Philadelphia when they took a guy in the second round. Obviously that guy is playing in his position right now in Philadelphia. So I definitely think they're trying to not really like baby or like coddle Carson Wentz, but I mean, you saw obviously maybe because the camera was there, but when you saw Rivera when he met Carson Wentz, they said, "We want you here." You're like, "We want you to be here," something like that. So I think they're going to do any and everything possible to put all the pieces around him possible, and I don't think a quarterback is part of that equation.
I definitely think quarterback is part of that equation. I don't think Carson Strong is the best fit for Carson Wentz. One of the things that Carson Wentz did that we all know all too well when we played him, he would scramble. He would get outside the pocket. He would make everybody miss who was trying to sack him. How many times did we see Carson Wentz look like he was about to get sacked, and then he'd be running out of the pocket for 15 yards? It happened all the time. Carson Strong doesn't really do that. Does he have the arm strength that Carson does? Absolutely. But the best player comp, Sergio, that I have is Desmond Ridder. I think he really does fit what Carson brings, meaning like the smarts, the kind of intellect, the arm strength, the mobility, the commanding of the offense kind of thing. I think Desmond Ridder would probably be the best fit in that second round if you're looking for that quarterback, because in my opinion, you can't go into the season with Carson Wentz and only Taylor Heineke, because Carson, with his injury history, let's say he does get banged up. Are you really that confident Taylor Heineke is the sole quarterback on this offense? And I would feel much better about this team if you have Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke backing him up, and then a quarterback as that third string guy developing, just in case something happens to Taylor after Carson gets injured, because apparently injuries at positions happen in bunches for this football team. So we have to make sure that you're making sure that you're careful and being able to build your assets in order that they're going to be successful. And I think that Ron Rivera, like we said earlier, is tired of this quarterback issue. So if you draft a quarterback in the second round, sit him in that third spot, and just have him there for long-term success, I think that's something that could bode well in the future, without a doubt. What do you think, Reed?
Washington is not taking a quarterback in this draft. Like Hall said, I think fifth round later is when they would take one. And really, if you look at it, I mean, they told Carson, "We want you here. He's our guy." They're expecting Carson Wentz to be the guy. Look at what happened last time Carson Wentz was on the team and they took a quarterback fairly early. That was Jalen Hurts. And look what happened. He got a little bit offended, it seemed like. He was almost like, "Okay, well, why am I here? What are you guys doing? You guys are just playing me so that way you guys can have Jalen Hurts come in
He's on
eventually
his
and take my
third
job."
team in 3 years. He should be.
Okay, but he's
pissed
not.
off
They're
about
not. They're not going to do that. They're gonna do everything that they can to let this guy succeed. Why would you want to put him somewhere and let him run down? It's just a dumb choice. If I'm being completely honest, wasting a pick on a quarterback when you can build up the team a little bit. I understand the rationale behind it, but and Carson Strong, I like Carson Strong. I think he's got a decent skill set. I think Desmond Ridder would be the best, in my opinion, too. I think he's the closest to Carson Wentz skill set. But another person who I like a little bit more than Carson Strong is Jack Cohn from Notre Dame. He's really grown on me a lot lately. He's somebody who I could see maybe a little bit later on, but I just don't think that they take one early on. I really think that they're going to build the team around Wentz, and then just if they address quarterback, it'll be a little bit later.
Yeah, the reason why I say second round with Ridder and any quarterback, I think
if Ritter's there, then it might be he's too good to pass up.
Trading back from 11, I did it on Pro Football Network today. I did a mock draft. I traded back from 11 to 20 and got the Steelers' second round pick and was able to really that made me feel better about taking a quarterback in the second, because you still had the other second to get your starter that you would need out of that position, if that would make sense. I think that would make you feel better, because it certainly made me feel better. Now,
it make me think we wasted a pick.
I will say that if it was me personally, if Ridder was there, yes, I would take him in the second round, because like you just said, it's pretty much like a 1 year deal technically with Carson Wentz. And say Carson Wentz does get us 9 to 10 wins. Well, guess what? He's a hot commodity on the market next year. If he has a pretty good season, you can kind of flip him for maybe another second or third round. And then you have a guy like Desmond Ridder ready to step in. So me personally, yes, I would take Desmond Ridder in the second round. I just think that overall, they're not going to draft a guy till maybe like the fifth round.
They're going to make Carson feel that this is his team. That's what I'm gathering from, and they're going to just let him ride it out. And then
I thought Reed was going to go a different direction. I thought he was going to talk about next year's quarterback draft class.
That's what I wanted to. I was like, no, save it.
The next question we have is from Twitter. Our guy Orange Crush 92, one of the best contributors to the show. He says Landon Collins was released about 2 weeks ago, Reed. Could we still re-sign him? Could he transition to middle linebacker and be that veteran presence in the backfield we have been searching for?
I think as long as you don't tell him that he's transitioning to linebacker, then I think that you can make it happen. Just don't let him know that. Just give him all the plays, give him the same exact role. Just don't let him know. No, unfortunately, I mean, I could maybe see that later. I mean, he's a June 1st cut though, so it would have to be later on. Maybe there is. I mean, I know that they really like Landon. They didn't want to let him go, as far as I know. I mean, the guy played admirable as soon as he found his new position, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately. But hey, maybe Landon will look out and be like, damn, you know what? I'm really not going to get that big of a contract that I think. Maybe I will just go here where I'm comfortable and they know how to use me. I would hope so because I like Landon. I want to bring him back, but for the right price for sure.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Reed, to piggyback off of that. Because the June 1st designation is kind of late in the year. Obviously, free agents can still resign that late and be on teams to be productive. But that being said, when you're getting cut post June 1st, after the draft, teams have already got their guys. They're feeling good about the rookies. Less likely of a chance that they're going to bring you in and pay the money that you want. And so, yeah, I do think the likelihood of Landon Collins returning is high, given the fact of how much he's asking, what they're going to be doing. Now, the whole middle linebacker thing I do have an issue with because you're essentially saying that he's the Mike linebacker in a 4-3, and that's the heavier set kind of downs where you're going against the multiple linemen. You're going against the jumbo packages. You need some big boys in there. And Landon, as good as he is against the run, it's when he's clean. When you start putting bodies in his face, that's when he starts getting washed. And I don't think that's the best recipe for Landon to play middle linebacker. Because if you're talking the other sets, your 4-2s, your dime nickel packages, it's going to be Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis anyway. They're better in coverage as linebackers, and they could play the run based on what the offensive formation is. So it doesn't really make sense for middle linebacker, but I could definitely see Landon Collins coming back here, and hopefully Cam Curl is advocating for him to come back.
No, I don't see him coming back, honestly. They already pretty much asked him. They asked him to take a pay cut. He said yes. We're going to keep him in your same role. And then when they came back and said, do you want to take another pay cut? He said no, but keep you in the same role. Well, the only thing that changed was the money aspect of it. And yeah, even though it's after June 1st, I would have to guess that they had talked to his agent, but prior to them releasing him June 1st, he probably had asked him maybe a backdoor deal with another team that's like, hey, once they release me, we're gonna I'm gonna bring my client in for a physical, all that stuff, blah blah blah, all the testing. So, I mean, obviously, is there a chance he can come back? Yes. I'm not gonna say no, obviously, but I think this ship has sailed, and I think that if they want to fill his role, they can go younger in the draft.
I think his friendships on the team play a big part in his decision making here. But the next question, thank you, OC, that was fantastic. Next question is from C. Jackson, Sacred Fandom on Twitter. Hall, would you be willing to go against the grain and draft Treylon Burks at 11?
Ooh, at 11, I would say, I mean, hey, honestly, I wouldn't personally, but if Scott Turner and this offense and the wide receiver coach, I'm forgetting his name right now off the top of my head. Whatever. If they think that he's that guy that can be that weapon, that chess piece on the field, kind of like a bigger, faster, stronger Curtis Samuel, and they can play the outside opposite Terry, then I'm all for it. But me personally, I would get a more kind of a route runner technician, more of a speedy guy than Treylon Burks right now. But I mean, hey, like I said, tape don't lie. The dude's a beast, so I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, would I go against the grain and draft Burks at 11? I mean, I would, given the fact that there were some guys taken before him, obviously. But my prime for the wide receivers is trading back and then getting that wide receiver. Getting those extra picks is what's most important to me. But Treylon Burks' talent is obviously off the charts. What this guy is able to do, he does it in all three levels, the short, medium, and the deep game. He's really tough to bring down once he has the ball in his hands. DBs, he's a big body guy. They don't want to go and tackle this guy deep downfield when he's running full speed. So he's an asset in that regard, indifferent than what you're seeing from Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, where they're dangerous in their own aspect of being in speed quick, where Treylon Burks is just a big body kind of tackle football dude that when he's running through, he's just getting arm tackles. And that is obviously an asset that an offense could certainly use. I just think 11 is a little too rich because of what you have possibly there, and I would much rather trade back. And I know the Draft Network has Treylon Burks projected, I think it's 27 right now. in their overall rankings. And so if you trade back, most likely you'll be able to still get there with Treylon Burks. But obviously the ranking system is all whatever. And Hall, last week you said, I don't care what they do at 11, just get me a playmaking wide receiver. I remember that. What about you?
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. But like, I did say that, but I also, like I said, if they picked him, I wouldn't be mad. But like I said, I want the more of the tactician route runner type, like the more shifty, speedy guy.
Yeah, the thing. So Treylon Burks, I mean, ultimately I'd be all right with it, like you said, Hall, because I mean we need another receiver. If they feel that this is the guy, then hey, that's the guy. Like you said, Kyle, he brings something different that this offense doesn't have right now. But it is a little too rich to me too. And the Treylon Burks thing is so weird because all season long we heard about Treylon Burks and his 4.3 speed at his size 11 hands. He has to wear triple XL gloves. It ends up his hands are under 10 inches big. It ends up he runs a 4.5, and that's not his fault, but the media hyped him up. I mean, the guy's a beast in his own right. He brings a lot to the table. He's hard to bring down. You can use him in a lot of ways. He's aggressive, especially in the run game. The guy pass blocks, but he kind of struggles in contested catches. And if he can't create separation right now with that speed, then it's a little hard for me. And I do think that there's better receivers in the class. For example, I like both Ohio State guys better, and I like Drake London better. I think if you want to get a big receiver that can make some contested catches and that brings something that we don't have, I think Drake London would be fantastic. I like Jameson Williams better. I think Jameson Williams, as long as he's going to be healthy. But would I be mad at it? No. I mean, I would think that there could be some guys that are a little better there. But if that's who they want to go with, and hey, as long as it's a receiver, somebody like that who can help out this offense, I'm all for it.
Dude, my biggest knock on Garrett Wilson, I love his route running and I love his playmaking ability, his speed, everything. It's just his contested catches. All of his catches come as easy catches. There's nobody around him. As soon as it's a hard ball or there's a defender on his back, he doesn't come up with it. And that's what my biggest gripe with it.
He has a few very crazy highlight reel catches that are contested. Like the one where he went up against Clemson. Michigan? Yeah, the one against Michigan, one against Clemson. But I'm telling you, the more and more, I always kind of considered Chris Olave kind of an afterthought, just because like I was like, he's good, but he's a little smaller, you know. I mean, he does everything faster. But then like when you go back and actually watch Olave, you're like, damn, I don't completely understand why Rivera and Co would like this guy. Like I wouldn't be mad with him at 11.
He has fantastic hands, absolutely incredible.
Catches everything.
I have Olave above Garrett Wilson at this moment. That's how I feel. Now let's do rapid fire here. Reed, real quick. We're at the top of the hour now.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite franchise worst of all time? This is from Mike Puckett. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Who's your worst quarterback in franchise history?
Honestly, I used to want to say somebody maybe like a Patrick Ramsey, but now I'm just going to go with Dwayne Haskins, just how lost he looked as of late. Yeah, no, he was very bad. But like, are we going just like of all time? I guess you kind of got to go Heath Schuler. I mean, are we talking about just draft picks or what?
No. Franchise history. Worst quarterback of all time.
I mean, you could. Yeah, no, I almost want to go Tony Banks, but like.
It's John Beck for me. Easy.
Yeah, no, I forgot about John Beck. Yeah, John Beck. No, he's Mormon too. Sorry, Selby, but like, come on.
I got to go Donovan McNabb. We just got straight up fleeced in that one.
Yeah, he played terrible.
Hall, what about worst running back of all time on franchise history?
Oh, man.
That's a tough one.
That is
a
tough one.
It's probably somebody who never got in the game.
Matt Jones, bro.
Matt
Jones, bro.
Okay.
See, he's so bad I forgot about him. So that's
but like you can't tell me though that he wasn't better than somebody who didn't play that technically played for us. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I get it. I mean,
I'm thinking about it way too technical.
Oh, you know what?
I'm thinking about it way too.
I got a better one than Matt Jones. I'll say Darius Geis.
Oh, well, he was good. It's just he will knock you in the mouth.
Play.
He would definitely slap somebody if they said something.
Wide receiver.
Rod Gardner. That dude was such a bum. Such a bum.
I'm going to go with everybody's favorite practice player, the greatest practice player of all time, Taylor Jacobs.
Dude, it's Devin Thomas. Now, the next
He was so hot, though. He was so good looking.
Malcolm Kelly, Rod Gardner. I mean, the list. Josh Doxson.
Yeah,
so
Doxson's up there.
Thank you, Mike. You're the man. Now, our next question is from Wizkins. Wizzy F. Baby, guest of this show before. Between Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley, who do you like better?
I like Sauce Gardner. Huge Sauce Gardner guy.
Sauce. Give me all that Sauce.
If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said Stingley, but
yeah, for
Sauce.
Sure.
Last question. Save the best for last. Andy Burrows in the UK. Oi! Apart from the obvious winning games, Reed, what would you be doing to united and very disgruntled fan base to try and entice them to come back to FedEx?
Besides winning, I don't know what else you can do. I mean, I guess you could sign some star. If you hit on a quarterback, I'll say, even if we don't win, if say Carson Wentz pans out over the next couple of years, or draft somebody this season that just becomes the next, I don't know, Dak Prescott. If you have a good quarterback, even if you're not winning right away, somebody that's exciting, like a Justin Herbert or a Dak Prescott who's drafted in the middle rounds but does really good, this franchise is going to be very excited. That all we want is stability at the quarterback position because it gives you a chance to win every week.
Andy, do you want me to be honest with this? Like seriously honest?
Yes.
No, just 100% lie to everyone.
Yeah.
Apart from winning games, what could they do to bring people back to entice them to come back to FedEx? What you could do is you could make a partnership with the medical marijuana industry in D.C. Basically say if you come get a season ticket, you get a gram or something. I'm pretty sure everyone would show back up to the stadium. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking outside the box here.
I'd enter that. I'd enter the line 3-4 different times. I'd put a mustache. I'd put a mustache on. Then I'd put an afro on the next time.
You have to have a ticket hall, so you have to have like 4 tickets.
But why would you want to go to a game where everybody's smoking marijuana and killing the person next to them? We know what the marijuana makes you do. You want them to just start going and getting a bunch of tattoos and killing dogs? That's what marijuana does.
Brought to you by Dare.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this show on that note. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Hey everybody, please comment in the section here. We want to hear about you guys. We want to hear what you think. What could entice you to come back to FedEx? Reed's got me all messed up now.
Did Chris Rock deserve to get slapped, or was Will Smith completely out of line? Is Jada toxic? Yes, she is.
Looks like Kyle's entered the line a couple times to get that free gram.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. All right, everybody. We will see you guys again on Friday. Look, please comment. We love interacting with you guys on there. It's a lot of fun to do. Hopefully, Hall's mic is finally fixed for all those YouTube commenters and our guys on Twitter. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.